Okay, so what I was saying, right? I was saying that now we had also the release of Super People and the Overwatch 2. I will share my browser a little bit, because I want to have a talk about some certain things. People were talking shit about Overwatch, which is, in my opinion, wrong. Let's not stop there. The doc is there, man. The doc is there. Okay, so let's going to address one by one the things. Okay, so when Overwatch released, there was some delays on the queue. Okay, there was some big queue times. Okay, so what? It was maybe for like a day or so, and then finish. They sorted out the whole thing. Don't forget it's a transition, right? A game that before you pay like 30, 40 bucks. I don't remember how much I paid, right? Becomes free to play. Of course, you will have a bigger number of players coming to play the game, and also all people that and previous players, all players that are playing Overwatch 2, they will come back to Overwatch 1. They will come back to test Overwatch 2, to see what is changed, if it is smoother or whatever, and then maybe just get addicted to it again. Instead of Overwatch 2, let's try
Back in
this one.
2019, Jeff
Oh
Kaplan
shit! Yeah,
walked on
let's
stage at
hear this guy,
BlizzCon and
man.
announced Overwatch 2 would try to redefine the meaning of a sequel. Nearly 3 years later, I had the opportunity to get some time in on the release build for Overwatch 2 and a preview event with other creators, and I can
Yeah.
confidently say Overwatch 2 is not a sequel. At least, not yet. On one hand, the game is extremely high
Mm-hmm.
quality. The new visuals, the audio, the
Yeah.
animations,
It is totally reworked, right? So you have, first of all, you have rework of everything, the maps and everything. The visuals is extremely nice. It's more smooth. The frame rate is way smoother than it
art,
used to
skins,
be.
voice, the list goes on. Everything in
Everything.
Overwatch 2
Hmm.
has that absurd level of Blizzard polish that feels so good. And on top of that, the new gameplay direction of Overwatch 2 is a massive improvement over the original. Combat has fewer
Exactly.
ultimates, fewer shields,
And also, other than that, right? Fewer shields, fewer crowd controls, faster ultis or whatever. You have extremely low. I'm just repeating myself. Extremely low queue times when you're going to queue for a match. With Overwatch 1, you can queue for up to, can say, like from half a minute, 1 minute, 2 minutes, 3 minutes, 4 minutes, 5 minutes, right? And if you're playing the damage role, oh man, please forget about it. You couldn't even get in a match after 5, 10, 11, 12 minutes. Everything now is balanced. Tanks are balanced. DPS is balanced. Healers is balanced. Now healers can do damage also. Holy shit, man. And
less
the list goes
CC,
on.
and more solo carry potential. These are all core design changes in line with a new direction and nudges the game closer to its roots as an FPS shooter rather
Exactly.
than the shield shooting
Yeah.
simulator it had
You see, that goes to before, right? So check this on here, right?
shooting
That goes before, like full shields, everywhere shields, everywhere shields, everywhere shields. It's so stupid before, man. You had so much shields and you couldn't play the actual game.
simulator it had become. But all of this feels like a hollow shell, a fresh coat of paint that cannot possibly make up for the fact that this sequel has an extremely underwhelming amount of new content and it was supposed to be so much.
The new content, by the way, is not coming now. It will come with the next patch. At the moment, it just became a free-to-play version with polished visual and audio reworks.
More. After waiting for almost 3 years, I log into Overwatch 2 and we somehow ended up with 3 new characters, a new game mode, and a handful of maps that's now launching as an early access live service title.
Mm-hmm.
Clearly, this is not the sequel Blizzard had in mind when Overwatch 2 was announced back in 2019. It's a drastic shift for Blizzard, a company that once made its name by
It is a shift from the Blizzard and everything, but in my opinion, that change compared to what they had in mind, it's way better. From many reasons, and most important, marketing, right? You have to bring the players back to the game. You have to let the players experience how it was Overwatch, what they missed for the price tag. Now they can get it for free. They can hop in. There's a battle pass. very big GG over there. They can make a progress. You have the achievement. There's a lot of new stuff there, right? Maybe it's not as what Blizzard had in mind, but from market reason, the approach that they took, that put it free to play, bring back all the players, let them enjoy, let them see how it is to play Overwatch, and then we're gonna drop the one that they had in mind, right? With the patch, they will drop the new content as it said as of now, right?
Ruthlessly delaying all of its games and updates until they were ready. What's surprising is that according to interviews, the team has only actually been working on this version of PvP Overwatch 2 for just over a year. Before that, the majority of its time went into building out the PvE side of the game instead. In an interview with Tech Radar, Aaron Keller said, "When we originally made the decision to start focusing on
Okay.
Overwatch 2, it really made it so that both parts of the game had to be released at the same time. And as we were iterating more and more in some of the more innovative gameplay for the PvE side of Overwatch 2,
Okay, PVE, right? When you had the PVE is probably going to be like Fortnite, right? That you have the mode over there that you fight versus zombies or whatever, right? That's a Fortnite, but still is a PvE version, right? So if they're going to try to do something here on the Overwatch, but I believe that Overwatch is nice and very nice competitive, right? FPS shooter game, like it's very casual, right? Everyone can play Overwatch, either if you're a shit or not, right? If you have the skills or not, still you can go in and you know do your thing inside the Overwatch. It's not something that they will say, oh, now what you would gonna do? I don't have aim or whatever. There are a lot of different characters you can play, but you still actually you can just use it and move forward and play and enjoy the game from healing to tank and everything. It's very very more player friendly nowadays.
it meant that it was going to take longer for PvP features to go public. Later on, he says, "So we made this big switch. It has been a really fast paced year where we had to do a lot of things to turn this massive ship that was going in one direction to go in another direction in order for us to be able to fulfill one of our key values for the game, which is to be able to continually update it.
Mhm.
It's very
That's true.
surprising they've only really focused on the PvP side of the game for just over a year, but it fits with the amount of content that's in the
Yeah,
game."
but exactly what that's what we said, right? That they focus on the PvP, but at least they make a lot of balances. Now you don't have this OP single champion that you have to pick every time. You don't have the OP thing that okay, if you play a tank, okay, you're OP on the CC or whatever. Everything is way balanced. So the PvP side that they fix it is now playable, and you have exactly the same chances to just win either side, right? Yes, the skill matter, but again, it depends on the mode. It's not that you're going out and you start killing everyone, right?
The real question here is, why has PvE taken 3+ years of developer time? What exactly have they been working on?
They'll be working on content because without content, the PvE will be like a shit mode that no one will play. So they have to put down a plan on how they're gonna develop the PvE, right? Strategic, and then should be a story. They have to keep the interest of the person inside the PvE, probably like a story mode or whatever. They have to make the person to keep playing the PvE and not only the PvP. They have to make it in that way. I don't know what the thing are. Like one time, like you go in the stage or you come out, like PvE, boom, 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 you kill, you make the objective, and you win. I don't know what they will have in mind, but again, the whole story, the whole concept, of course, it will take 3 years because in my opinion, that you cannot come up with an idea and be like, oh, snap my fingers, release it. Doesn't work like this. Any company, either it will be a gaming company or whatever. It doesn't work like this.
In order to answer those questions, I dove into some
Another small post here. Companies that they think that they can snap the fingers and make it happen, or give a small period of time to manage a target, which is not only millions but probably billions in profit, and you give a very small time of like a time frame of like month, 2, 3, half a year, 1 year. They're stupid. Number one, unsuccessful, and number three, they always fail, right? And it's proven, and I experienced this one in the past. companies and people that they don't have patience, they ain't gonna win a shit. Okay, and always gonna lose. Either they're gonna lose profit, people, or resources, or whatever, right?
Some old developer interviews and streams from 2019 onward to try and figure out what the original vision of Overwatch 2 was before business realities took over and forced Team 4 into this early access launch. According to Aaron Keller in late 2019,
Early access, I said, it was because they want to bring the people inside. They have to let the people enjoy and try the Overwatch 1 with the number 2 at the end on a free version with a lot of polish. Instead of letting the people say, okay, you know what? You can have Overwatch 1 for free and try the PvP, which is bullshit, laggy, unbalanced, high queue times. Okay, the queue times not because there was no players, right? But again, they decided to make it like a 2, and then let the people enjoy, let the people see how it is the PvP. Let the people achieve something inside the game. Let the people learn the champions, right? It was a strategic and marketing move what they have done now with the Overwatch 2. And it will be proven later on. They did it in order to just, number one, they need numbers. Number two, they put the battle pass. Very good. Number three, they have to make it famous again. And that's the only way that they release it earlier on a free to play version on a PvP side, right?
Overwatch 2 was built for those who loved Overwatch but didn't want to play a competitive FPS game. Overwatch 2 is going to fulfill that for them, where there's this game that people that don't play competitive shooters can jump into. They're going to be able to play the co-op side of Overwatch 2 as their main lifestyle game. He elaborated later, saying that there is so much to that side of the game, from this big story experience to this really deep progression system as they play through hero missions. It's this massive tail to the game where people can play for years if they want to. And for us,
It's exactly what I said, right? The content that they have to keep the people with big interest, to keep people bothered, to keep playing and playing the game. Like Diablo, just saw it with my eyes. Diablo 3, right? Huge content. You keep you playing for months, right? Uh, Lost Ark, even if it is pay to win, right? It has content to keep you playing for months. World of Warcraft, fuck's sakes, this is fucking years content. So this is what what they have to achieve, right? They have to make it happen, so they will just keep the players to play the game for years, not for a month or two, a week or day, right? It's all about marketing and how they have to approach properly the people.
as we started talking about the game in those terms, it couldn't really be anything but a sequel. He also said later down in the interview that a lead designer on World of
Hmm?
Warcraft was spearheading their progression.
There you go. Just said right now, right? What I said about World of Warcraft that has years of content, right? And now they have someone on top of their head from the World of Warcraft, management to push them, and just guide them.
Progression system for Overwatch 2. This interview was never really well publicized, I think, because most of the general gaming community viewed Overwatch 2 as a simple PvE story campaign. But according to this interview, the real plan was much more ambitious. Honestly, it just sounds like they weren't building out a campaign, but also a full PvE endgame so that people could play PvE Overwatch 2 as their main game.
God
It would
bless
be
me.
more than a year after this interview before we heard from the Overwatch team again, but we finally got to look at Overwatch 2's gameplay at BlizzCon Online in 2021. Overwatch 2 ended up looking very similar to horde shooters like Vermintide or Left 4 Dead. It had tons of random trash units, lots of objectives, a wide variety of special unit types like bomb units, swarming units, flying units, and even the stereotypical
It reminds me Halo. This one reminds me of the Halo, man. It's exactly the same. The Halo, have this PvE campaign co-op. Probably they're gonna make something like this, like Halo.
hook unit which shows up in every horde shooter ever, but with the basis of Overwatch gameplay and Blizzard polish. It looked fantastic. They also covered progression systems. Hero missions were the main form of content you would play after the linear PvE story campaign. There were hundreds of them and tons of
This
variations
reminds
with
me
a
Tekken.
focus on replayability. You would play these hero missions to
Street
level up your
Fighter and
characters,
Tekken.
which would give you more talents in order to create builds for your characters. They showed off one theoretical build for Soldier 76, where his heal station followed him around, knocking back enemies, where he was effectively a snowplow. They also revealed the existence of damage types, like cold or electrical damage, with their own unique effects on enemies. And in a more recent interview, Aaron Keller confirmed that by leveling up, you can gain the ability to get equipment that you could use to become more powerful. Let's be clear. A game where you level up different characters, create
That's
builds,
nice.
and obtain equipment to become more powerful in a
Check this one, right? Oh,
cooperative different
go a little bit
characters,
back, man.
create
Come on.
builds, and obtain equipment.
Imagine how to play this content, right? You have all of these charts here: Juggernaut, Guardian, Crusader, right? And you have all of the abilities and the story. You want to relax? Jump on the PvE, play your story. You want just to explode your nerves or just compete on the PvP section of the Overwatch. It is a brilliant idea and the approach is perfect. As I said, and I'm repeating again and again myself, people they don't understand that the whole thing that it came early access right now with so many releases on October, with Warzone 2 coming also, it was a strategic move in order to gain people, right? The industry with FPS is dead. There was not even a single drop of a game for someone to play. What you want? PUBG? Dead. Warzone? Oh, fuck my life. Apex? Okay. And any other FPS game that came out just simply just fail. Many examples. Area is the biggest one, the latest one over the last 2 years. Very toxic management, toxic community, failed within a day. Sad refounds. Crazy thing, man.
Equipment to become more powerful in a cooperative, replayable PvE
And
mode.
Fortnite
The
fucked.
developer said they want you to be able to play for years. How can this be anything other than the very first steps to building out a PvE live service game set in the Overwatch universe?
Mm-hmm.
This is remarkably funny because of the origins of Overwatch. For those who don't know, Overwatch was spawned out of a canceled class-based MMO FPS called Titan. Blizzard tried making an MMO FPS work for years, and after it was over, they turned around, they took some of the assets with a small team of around 40 to 60 people, and they spun out Overwatch in record time. Overwatch was one of the fastest games Blizzard ever made. It blew up, and it became one of the most successful franchises.
With 1 billion in revenue. You know what this means? Huge Benjamins in their pockets. Oh man, come on now.
For the company. They then took that success, abandoned the game, and immediately went back to try and make another PvE FPS game. It's truly absurd, and I respect it. It also makes sense because core Overwatch gameplay lends itself really well to
Of course,
PvE
you don't stay
mechanics.
stable.
We have
You have
tanks,
to develop all
healers,
the
and
time.
DPS, archetypes that Blizzard has a ton of experience with after 10 plus years of developing World of Warcraft. I
Yeah.
could only imagine the incredible boss fights and missions those kinds of devs could create in the Overwatch universe. Blizzard would have something truly unique in the space that plays perfectly into their strengths as a company. And according to the devs, there's a massive Overwatch audience that loves the universe but doesn't want to play a competitive shooter anyway. So what ended up
Exactly. They have
happening to this
chill
crazy
with the
idea?
PvE.
According to Aaron Keller, PvE for
There you
Overwatch
go.
2 is still what we've always envisioned for the game. There's a campaign, a
course.
AAA campaign, with a linear story that we're going to tell through it, and there's also a highly replayable mode with hero progression. But rather than keeping those until they're all finished at the same time and releasing them in a box, we would like to release those as part of our seasonal cadence for Overwatch 2.
Exactly.
In other
In order
words,
to have the people play the PvP, fool their guts with joy on the PvP side, and then they say, you know what, guys, you want to relax? Here's your Christmas gift. Take Overwatch PvE campaign. Now with a small price tag or not, I don't know. I'll be honest with you.
instead of playing an entire PvE campaign and going through the PvE in-game as it drops, it will likely be cut up and sold in seasonal battle passes.
What I said right now, I don't know if it will be a price tag or whatever. There you go. Because of course, right? They have to be. They have to make. They have to put some gain, right? So you cannot get it for totally free. Okay, you're getting the whole game for free because they need people, but again, they have to make money, right? They're not charity.
Even though Aaron Keller says it's the same vision, I'm personally going to have to see it to believe it. Telling compelling stories in a live service setting is extremely difficult. The only games that really come to mind that pull it off at a good pace are games like Final Fantasy XIV and Destiny. It's entirely possible Overwatch can do it as well, and I really hope they do. But it's also easy to look at this and assume the worst, that it's just going to end up as a weaker product because it has to fit in a modern live service game reality. Overall, I can't help but feel disappointed because it feels like the original vision for this game was so much bigger than that, and it deserves its own developer team and time to bring that vision to
Exactly.
fruition.
You need
I
both
mean, just look
developer
at this
team and
Reddit
time. You
AMA
cannot trust the
response from
things, you
Josh
know?
No, Overwatch
There
2
you go.
senior hero designer. He said he can't speak for everyone, but for some insight
Exactly.
into the hero design team, we've had a significant amount of time dedicated to creating the talent trees.
Mm-hmm.
For context, there are
Of
about
course,
40 to 50.
you have to make the content right because, like Riot, when they had these runes from the very first, when they released League of Legends, they had the rune pages, right? Very smart. So what they have put you to do is like you play the game, you progress, and then you buy the runes, and then you make your own rune page. After they have the numbers that they needed, they say, okay, guys, we have a rework, so you have the talent trees, right? So like this, they just make the change, but they start from somewhere. They start from this one. They have to keep people occupied with the game. They have to make that play again and again over hours and hours.
50 talents split into 3 trees per hero, and each of these trees has a few talents that are similar
Yeah,
complexity to
probably
creating a new
damage,
ability for a hero.
support, tank.
Heroes in Overwatch usually have 3 to 4 abilities and a weapon, so prototyping a new hero is actually faster than making the talents for one. There are
Okay.
36 plus heroes to do that for, and then we've also got the PvP side with all the 5v5
Plus, you have
rebalancing,
3 new
hero
players at the
reworks,
moment,
and
right?
new hero development on top of that. Imagine what these devs could do if they weren't spread out across so many parts of the game and could just focus on PvE or PvP. To be
Exactly.
clear, I fully realize that it's entirely possible this theoretical Overwatch PvE side
That's another problem with the companies, right? You have one person bothering with 5 different things instead of having 5 people to bother with 5 different things. But unfortunately, nowadays we're lacking skills. Skills, no. Skills, mentality. We're lacking a lot of things on when it comes to the people and the manpower, you know. So unfortunately, that's why also they have to monitor them, right? They're not individual doing whatever they come to their heads. They have a supervisor, of course. So in order to check and get all the approvals that needed for the next move or whatever, it takes time, man. It really takes time on a big company.
the
I know
game
that
could have
from
flopped.
firsthand.
It could have been a total disaster to wait that long for the franchise and the business. But this is Blizzard we're talking about, a company that made its name by ruthlessly delaying all of its games and updates until they were ready. And in a single year of focused development, they've already done a fantastic job
Yeah,
reworking the game
but
around
maybe they
5v5
delay,
and
but they
building out
bring
new
like
characters while trying to keep balance
S
in check.
plus
But
results, you know.
unfortunately, I won't see the bulk of what the hero design team has worked on in Overwatch 2 because in the middle of development, Blizzard found itself at a crossroads. One road would have seen it stick with old school Blizzard philosophy where you release the game when everything was actually fully ready as a massively hyped PvP and PvE launch. But the problem was the industry shifted around Blizzard, leading more and more games down the other path. Games like Fortnite, Apex Legends, and Valorant all hit the FPS market.
What I said about these ones before, Apex, Valorant, Valorant didn't say Fortnite. Valorant, I forgot this dog shit. It is one, I believe it is. When it started, it was okay. After the couple of battle passes, holy shit, man. I don't know.
Year after year, each of
Uh-uh.
which was free to play and consistently releasing
Exactly.
content.
But
Blizzard
exactly,
decided to
free to
cut
play
its
and
losses,
content. That's what will
accept
keep the
fact
people
that PV was
inside
taking
the
too
game.
long, and turn the bus around. It would retreat back to the core PvP player base as an early access free to play live service game and try to compete directly with everyone in the industry again.
By the way, Valorant didn't like it because I didn't have a closed server to me, so I was playing with 150 ping plus. So I hate it. At the time I was in the Middle East. I hate it, man. I hate it. And then when the server came, we had issues with the ISP in that country that they were blocking the fucking game. So before you had issues with the servers of the game, and now you have the problem with your ISP that is blocking your connection to the game server.
This would stop the bleeding for sure. finally get something out the door and create some consistent revenue from those sweet, sweet skins and battle passes. But it
Exactly.
also means giving up on the original vision for Overwatch 2, on the partial revival of that original Titan idea. And that's a hard pill to swallow after having come this far.
And,
I
and imagine now when you're gonna make this RPG characters of yours to be a mode also that you can use them to fight against other players or be like PvP, PvE scenario that you're gonna involve everything and then you're trying to find between you or whatever. Also will be nice.
know there's no easy answer for Blizzard, and I
Like
understand the
Guild
situation
Wars.
it's in as a company and as a business, even if it's one entirely of its own making. But as a player,
Guild
all of
Wars
these
2.
options
Guild
are
Wars 3.
garbage. As someone walking
What Guild Wars? What the fuck? Gear Wars. What? Yeah. Gears of War. Holy shit. Gears of War. Okay. Gears of War. Sorry, guys. It was a Gears of War. I remember the name. Sorry.
into Overwatch 2's launch on October 4th, I see that early access tag, I notice the lack of content, and I can't help but wonder about that other road the old Blizzard might have taken, and how much
Lack
more
of
excited
content
I would have been
when they
for a
fix
real
everything
sequel instead,
visual and audio
assuming,
things.
of course, that it would have ever launched at all.
Yeah, but again, you lack of content. Okay, you have a new map. You have 3 new champions. You have huge balance between the champions. You have huge balance on the abilities. You have a way better queue time. You have more balance system itself and program itself to play and even faster and even better in your PC. You have a free to play that is gonna attract so many people to play the game. So people complaining about there is no content, guys. There is content coming, but yet before it comes, learn the game to play it right. Learn the game, see how it feels the PvP version, and then you're gonna jump on the PvE. Don't rush to do things right. So one by one. At the moment they release it in order to just to give you like a taste of what is Overwatch at the current state, right? That you cannot play over the years because probably you couldn't have it, right? You couldn't buy it, you couldn't afford it for whatever reason. Or if you had it like me, then okay, yeah. Now we have the balances. Now it's more playable. Now it's more fun. Guys, try it. It is fun, right? And it's free to play. So people complaining about Overwatch 2, you have to be patient. You have to understand that this is a marketing move. People that couldn't afford it, they didn't have it. Now they can have it, and now they can join the fight. So be patient.